Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. Licensed lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island Licensed Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got a busy show today. We got a World Series rematch. We got the Stanley Cup playoffs are going on. The Western Conference Finals resumes tonight, but we got to start in the Eastern Conference, and we got to start with the Knicks, who are now one game from elimination as they lost last night, 130-121 to the Pacers. And my biggest takeaway was the performance of the two Pacers stars. I mean, Tyrese Haliburton was absolutely phenomenal last night. Absolutely phenomenal. As a Kings fan, I bet, as I've been getting all postseason, as a Kings fan, you absolutely miss him because he had 32, 15, and 12 without any turnovers. What a performance. What a performance by Haliburton. That's a performance of a top 10 NBA player right there. That's a performance of a top 10 player. He was phenomenal. And Pascal Siakam, he was good. He was great. He was great. He had 30 points. He had a great game as well. And Brunson and Katz played well, but they didn't match what the two Indy stars did. And the bench for the Pacers outscored the Knicks bench 36-21. And the way the Pacers closed out quarters. I mean, outscoring the Knicks 12-4 in the first quarter. Outscoring the Knicks, this was key. Outscoring the Knicks 6-0 to end the half. And then they went up by 12 to start the second half. So they pretty much went on a 13-0 run there between the end of the second half and the beginning of the third quarter, and then closed out the fourth quarter on a 9-4 run. And then when the Knicks cut the lead to 6, it was the Pacers' two stars that made the big plays. It was Siakam with the 3 and Haliburton with the 2. And the Pacers now are one game away from making their first trip to the NBA Finals in 25 years, when ironically they beat the Knicks to get there. And they clinched at Madison Square Garden. They got a chance to do that Thursday night. So, Justin, what was your takeaway from last night?
Yeah, from last night, the Pacers in this series, they've been a bit better than the Knicks, and Haliburton stepped up again with 32. I think that was the first time in NBA history in a playoff game that somebody went for 30, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists. So, and with 0 turnovers as well. So, unbelievable, impressive performance by him last night. Yeah, Siakam went well. And then, you mentioned kind of the Pacers bench, and Bennedict Mathurin had 20 last night. I know he was 10 for 11 from the free-throw line, but he's had a brutal series so far. And, he stepped up last night, played well. And, I think I don't know if I think I mentioned a lot where, the ball can't stick in, Brunson's hands. And I felt like last night in, the fourth quarter, he's maybe too – I thought that he passed up some, maybe there's some times because Bridges, I know knocked down a couple, but I felt like maybe he's a little less aggressive than normal last night. Maybe they need in the fourth quarter, maybe they need him to be a little bit more aggressive there late in the game. For the Knicks, another kind of tough one there. And you mentioned the way they the Pacers been able to kind of close out quarters there. It's definitely very different as well. Carlisle's had a really good series. So, tough for another tough one there for the Knicks last night.
Yeah, you brought up Rick Carlisle, and I think he's out-coached Tom Thibodeau. Because there were a couple of times, in game one. I think really when you get to game one, and I think that the coaching difference really showed in game one where the Pacers wanted to challenge a couple plays, and Carlisle said no, no, no. And then the play they needed to challenge, which was the foul on OG Anunoby, and then ended up being a turnover. Carlisle had challenged that play, and that was why they won. That's why they ended up stealing game one, is because instead of that being a 7-point game, it was a 5-point game. They were able to get a 3 to cut it to 2. So I think that's the reason why the Pacers won game one. I think they completely outcoached Carlisle, completely outcoached Tom Thibodeau. And you brought up Brunson with the ball sticking in his hands. That's a good point. It has been an issue in this series. Brunson, especially late in games, the ball sticking in Brunson's hands and not getting other guys involved.
Yeah, because you saw in game 3, and I like the big reason Knicks kind of won was like Brunson was off the floor a lot when they kind of made that run.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like he's the reason why they're losing the series, but like it felt like they were playing better and like when everybody got involved. And I think that's kind of what they need to do. And you got a decent performance out of your bench in game 3, and then they come back as well. And they need other guys at times to contribute, and I think they have those guys. I know Anunoby is a little hit or miss at times shooting. I know Bridges was 4 or 5 last night, but like game 3 he kind of struggled. So, and I know Hart's not like a huge scorer, but yeah, I think at times this needs to be a little, like late in the game. Yeah, I think he needs they need some other guys, and like Carl, I think Towns, who I think's had a really good series, has stepped up, and he's kind of owned. He's played really well.
He has. But the issue with Karl Anthony Towns is he hurt his knee. He banged knees with Aaron. And it looks like he is going to be not going to be 100% going into Game 5. And this is going to lead me to what do the Knicks have to do to come back and win the series. And first and foremost, they wouldn't be here without Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has been their best player all year long. He's got to score. He's got to be great in the next 3 games, and he's got to make the other guys around him better. Say Cat can't go. He has got to do a really good, because they're going to probably double, Brunson. He's got to do a really good job of making Bridges, of making OG, of making Hart, other guys off the bench, DeLon Wright, Deuce McBride, Cameron Payne. He's got to make those guys better. That has to happen, or the Knicks will not. The season will be over. So he has to make. Brunson's got to be great and make other guys around him better. Number 2, they got to find a way to contain Tyrese Halliburton, like they did in Game 3. They got to find a way to contain Tyrese Halliburton, because Game 1 he was great. He had that huge shot to tie the game and the choke sign, trying to mimic Reggie there with the choke sign there. And then last night he was just phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal last night, Tyrese Halliburton. And they got to find a way to contain him. And then number 3, the bench has got to be better. I know Hart was decent last night, but the bench has got to be better overall. Their bench was outscored 36-21. Their bench was outscored. The bench was pretty good in Game 1, the game they gave up, but really, and in Game 3 it was good, but in Games 2 and 4 was not that good. So the bench has got to be better. So my 3 things are: Brunson's got to be phenomenal, obviously, got to contain Halliburton, and the bench has got to be better. Those are my 3 things for the Knicks to come back and win this series. Justin, what do you think the Knicks have to do to come back and win the series?
Yeah, I have the benches as well as you do. They need to make it a bigger impact like they did in Game 3, and kind of that 20-point comeback that they had in Game 3. They need like the McBrides. I know Josh Hart's coming off the bench now. I know not a big scorer, but he'll get you some rebounds. He could play some defense. You need him to kind of impact the game. My second one was, again, what I kind of mentioned last week, and I think they've done a pretty good job of not running with Indiana outside of like Game 1 and like the first half, Game 2. I think they've done a pretty good job of not trying to get in a track meet with them. And I think, they obviously have to continue to do that. And then my third one is, if Karl Anthony Towns can go, they need him to be continued to stay aggressive. I think he's been really engaged, and I don't think there's been a lot of moments where he's kind of sitting around the 3-point line, or like when I think he is going to the basket, he's taking it to the rim and he's being aggressive, he's being physical. They need him to continue to do that on the offensive side of the ball, because Brunson mentioned, the Pacers doing a pretty good job, and if they double him, you gotta have one of those other guys kind of step up, and Towns has showed he can do it, has shown he can do for the last couple of years, when he's fully engaged and he's staying aggressive.
Yeah, and you saw it in Game 3. You even saw it at times last night when he's aggressive and he's engaged. he's really, really good number two. He is a really, really good number two. And listen, he's a big reason why the Knicks, with Brunson, he's a big reason why the Knicks got to the first conference finals in 25 years. I mean, he was in the Celtics series. He was great in, game two, and game four, and game six. And then the Pistons series, he really stepped up to games 3 and game 4. He's been really good this postseason as well as Brunson has been. So yeah, but my big concern about Cat is how healthy is he after that injury? How healthy is he? That's definitely my concern going into game 5.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be because if it's his knee and he doesn't want to go bang bodies down low, yeah, could he, you know, end up sitting towards the 3-point line most of the game? Absolutely. And again, if that happens, that's not a great sign for the Knicks. Because they've, whoever been guarding them, whoever the Pacers kind of thrown at them defensively, Towns has done such a great job of scoring. So yeah, you need it, especially the way Indiana has been defending Jalen Brunson, and and if OG's not shooting the ball well, if Bridges having an off night, the Knicks are gonna be in trouble. So yeah, they absolutely need Karl-Anthony Towns to have a big day and staying aggressive and getting the basket and being that number 2 scorer to Brunson.
Yeah, he definitely has to. He definitely has to be. He has to be, or this team won't. They won't win the series. I mean, he definitely has to be. Now, looking on the Pacers side of this, on the Pacers side of this, up 3-1, and for them to close out and get to their first NBA Finals in 25 years, Halliburton just has to continue to be great. He has to continue to be great. I mean, he was really good. He was great in game 1. He was phenomenal last night. That was just a phenomenal performance. His dad was back in the building. That was just a phenomenal performance last night. He's got to continue to be great. And then Siakam had a huge game 2 with 39. He has a really big game last night with 30. Siakam's been the Robin to Halliburton's Batman. It seems like they're starting to really mesh Halliburton and Siakam, because last year, even in the postseason, I don't think they meshed as well as they are meshing now. I think they're really starting to mesh Halliburton and Siakam, especially since the start of the new year. I think they're really starting to mesh. Because last year when he got traded, I mean, I think they had to figure out their chemistry. Now I think they're really figuring out their chemistry, and you see how it's got the Pacers now 1 game from the NBA Finals, and then number 3 number 3, the bench is just going to continue to be as good as it's been. I mean, the bench has been really, really good. You said Benedict Mathurin, he really stepped up. Obi Toppin, former Knick, hit the big 3 last night. So the reason the Pacers are winning this series is coaching. Number one to me, it's Halliburton has outplayed Brunson, especially late in games. Coaching has been better, and then the depth has been better. Their star has been better, coaching's been better, and the depth has been better. And if the bench continues to be better, there's no doubt the Pacers will get to their first NBA. If the bench continues to play the way it has, there's no doubt the Pacers will get to their first NBA Finals in 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely. They're on their way. Yeah. I had the bench point as well as you, and yeah, Mathurin last night, Obi Toppin with the big 3 you mentioned. O'Connell's kind of been a little bit of a scorer as well, and does a great job of just kind of being another point guard out there. And then even like bench Shepard's give him like a good few minutes at times this series. So Mathurin last night, and hopefully he kind of for the Pacers, he continues to kind of last night, knocks down some shots, and he kind of comes out there. So maybe maybe he gets going too. So yeah, the bench, and they put well on the road too. So they even their bench guys. So they've been pretty comfortable on the road. My other one is kind of like last week, is continue to get out run, play their game. Obviously with the depth, with their bench, they can play a track meet, and the Knicks, who at times don't trust her, Thibodeau will stick with the starters, and can't get in trouble at times, and the Knicks are trouble if they get in a track meet. And then my third one is the turnovers. Like in game 3 on the Knicks comeback, it was the Knicks that kind of the bench had a big impact, but I also think Indiana's done a really good job most of the time, this postseason, not turning the ball over. They had 8 of their 12 in like the second half, and then I just felt like the sloppiness was kind of a little bit of reason why they lost that game as well. So just not turning the ball over, and Halliburton's usually pretty good. I think last night he had 0 turnovers. So Connell's, all 3 of those guys are pretty good about not turning the ball over.
Yeah, you're right about the turnovers, and you talked about the pace. And that's why, as a Knicks fan, I was worried last night, very early on, because that game was played at the Pacers' pace. That's the game the Pacers want to play, is these high scoring games that are in the 120s. The Knicks, they want to win like they did on Sunday night, where it was kind of a game in the low 100s. Last night was a game the Pacers want to play, the game in the 120s, the 130s, a team that runs up and down the floor. That's their identity, and that's the kind of game they wanted to play, and they definitely did it in Game 4.
Yeah, it definitely did. The Pacers, they just have so many weapons, and they have guys off the bench that they could trust. And again, when you get a transition, and when they have five dudes on the floor that could shoot, and you're all kind of you're kind of concerned about it, kind of gets the defense to scramble a little bit. And maybe somebody, you find somebody wide open. So yeah, the Pacers pace has been big. I think they're number one in pace in the regular season, and I assume during the playoffs they're probably right up there as well. So yeah, offensively there's so many good weapons, and yeah, when they can get out and run, they can get out transition and get some 3-on-2s, knock down open threes. They're deadly.
Absolutely. And better team than we thought. Beginning of the year, they were, you remember, at the beginning of the season, they were kind of, in January, they were kind of around 500. And then they took off. And as I said earlier, the reason why I think they've taken off is Halliburton in this postseason has turned into, definitely a top 15 player and arguably a top 10 player. Rick Carlisle is the best coach of the four going. Rick Carlisle is one of the top coaches, one of the best coaches in the NBA. And their depth, they're very, very deep. They're a very deep team. In the apron era, this Pacer team where you don't need to have 2 or 3 superstars. All you really need is a good coach, a borderline superstar in Tyrese Halliburton, a very good number 2 in Pascal Siakam, and a really, really deep bench. And the Pacers have that, and that's why they're on the verge of going to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you made some great points there because this Pacers, we talk about there's not like a superstar, and last week took Brunson over Halliburton, and you could Towns, you could take Towns too over like Siakam, but you go down the list, and after that it's just like the Pacers have so many guys that could beat you night in and night out. And yeah, Carlisle does a really good job with the team, and Nesmith's really he's really kind of found his footing since he's come over to Indiana, since it didn't his first 2 years in Boston, he really didn't play a ton, and I think they got him in the Malcolm Brogdon trade, and it turned out to be a great addition for him. The trade for Siakam, and you mentioned a few minutes ago, because he only played Siakam, him and Halliburton probably only had like 20-25 games last year for the playoffs, and this year and the playoffs, the chemistry looks there, and Siakam's been unbelievable, and he's been an awesome number 2 scorer, and he's really kind of stepped up as well. So this Pacers team is just they're deep. You don't and there's I guess for now the Timberwolves still in there with Anthony Edwards, but there's not, and I guess Shea too, but Coach Rick Hall is such a great coach, and you don't need that top 5 guy if you have a deep roster like this where you do have so many options that can score the basketball, and you don't need Halliburton or even Siakam to be on every single night, because like a Benedict Mather, if he gets you a 20, or Aaron Nesmith, and all those guys can contribute like they did last night, it's a dangerous team.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Now, our series prediction last week, I picked the Knicks in 7. I'm probably going to have to change that. And I think a big reason why is I don't know how Cat's going to be. I don't know if Cat's going to be 100%. And that's a big Cat. We saw him for the fourth quarter of Game 3. He saved it. That's the reason why the Knicks are still in this series. So I don't know how healthy Cat's going to be. I do think the Knicks scrap it out. They scrap out a winning Game 5. I don't think it ends in the Garden, but I think it ends in Indiana on Saturday night. And I got to change it. I got the Pacers in 6. Justin, you picked the Pacers. I think in 6. Last week, I bet you're sticking with the Pacers.
Yeah, I'll go Pacers in 6. I said that the Knicks will they'll fight. They gotta win one of these games at the Garden. So I think they survived Game 5. They got out of there, but I think going back Saturday night to Indiana, the Pacers get it done. They finished off the Knicks.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Pacers do finish off the Knicks. Now we will move to the Western Conference Final between the Thunder and the T-Wolves. And on Monday night, the Thunder went up 3-1 on the verge of making their first NBA Finals since 2012. And the biggest reason why, I think the biggest difference in the game was pretty obvious. The big players for the Thunder, they stepped up. Shea had 40, I think it was 49, and I think he had 40, 10, and 9. Phenomenal performance by Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He played like an MVP. Jalen Williams hit the big shots, huge 3-pointers late in that game. And then Chet Holmgren had a good game too. And then on the other end, Julius Randle, 5 points. 5 points. Come on. And then Anthony Edwards, 16 points. They are lucky. They would have gotten blown out. Their bench didn't have the game. If Alexander Walker and DiVincenzo didn't have the games they had, they would have gotten blown out. And then Anthony Edwards, no accountability after the game. Zero accountability. I'm not saying he's a top 10 player. He's really talented. He needs to mature. He needs to mature. You have a game like that in the playoffs in a big spot, when you get completely outplayed by SGA, you get outplayed by him, you need to take some accountability, and he didn't. He didn't take any accountability. And right now, and this series is showing you why SGA is clearly better than Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been on, and like the media, like everybody wants him to be like the face of the league, Anthony Edwards, and it's like I don't see it. I've even heard people compare to Jordan, just like Jordan doesn't take games off in the playoffs.
No, compared to Jordan, what are we talking about here? Compared to Michael Jordan? Are we serious? I mean, listen, I get he's great on both ends. He's really good on both ends of the floor. Where's the maturity? Where's the competitiveness? Where is it? You got called out by your coach last series. Jordan, let me tell you one thing. Michael Jordan didn't need to get called out by Phil Jackson to play well. He was playing well night in and night out. Anthony Edwards had to get called out by his coach last series.
Yeah, he did. And, Jordan's not happy. Jordan doesn't need any motivation to playoff game, or he didn't. So that I'm just kind of annoyed. I get it. He's a phenomenal player, but yeah, it's like the effort at times, and it's like, how are you not motivated for a playoff game? And yeah, SGA's been unbelievable. And if you told me before that game, the Timberwolves they're gonna shoot 43% from three. They're gonna put up 126 points. I'm gonna think the Timberwolves won that game, and especially the way Alexander Walker and DiVincenzo played, and they still couldn't get that win. So
you would definitely think they'd win that game on their home floor. But the problem is their two big guys didn't show up.
Yeah, and Randall's had a tough one. I know Oklahoma City's kind of thrown a lot of pressure on him. He's had some turnovers too. Like, they've kind of done a really good job of kind of just, he had 5 turnovers. They're doing a good job of just kind of bothering him, and he's had a really rough series. And Randall needs to be better. I think he had 24 in game 3 on the win, but like most of the series, he's not looked great. And I think that a lot of credit goes to Oklahoma City Thunder defense.
Yeah, but I know the defense has been good, but he's got to step up. You're going to be the guy. They traded Karl Anthony Towns for you. You got to step up and be the Robin, and you haven't been in this series. You were last series. I'll give you a ton of credit last series. He was definitely that guy last series with those 30-point games in Game 4 and Game 5. He was definitely that guy in the previous series. He has not been that guy in this series. He just has not been. I know the defense is good, but he's not been that guy in this series.
No, he hasn't, and they need it because the way too, like Oklahoma City, the way their defense too is like they are really like the minute Anthony Edwards kind of gets over half court, they're kind of blitzing him, and they're making him get rid of the basketball too, and that's when you need a Randall where Edwards is having a tough time getting going. That's when you need Randall to kind of be the guy and take over, but he just hasn't been able to do that. So yeah, it's been kind of a rough series for him, and the 5 turnovers the other night, they're just kind of pestering him, and they really do need him to kind of step up, because I assume Oklahoma City's going to Dort's going to be on him, and Dort's going to continue to apply pressure on him. And again, he had 2 shots in the first half in Game 4. Like, that's a lot of credit goes over with City's defense, but they need to find ways to get him open and find ways to get him some shots, because that just can't happen in Game 4, trying to knock things up going back to OKC.
It definitely can't. It absolutely cannot. It cannot happen. But we will talk about what the Thunder got to do to close out the series tonight, and what the Timberwolves have to do to make a great comeback. And we'll start with the Thunder, and it's pretty much what I said last week. SGA's got to continue to be great, and he was so good. He was so good in game 4. He was so good. And then again, Holmgren and Williams got to be good. They were great too, especially Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams was phenomenal in game. You're seeing this Thunder team mature. You really are, from last year when they lost the Mavericks. You're really seeing this Thunder team mature. I mean, the last series, winning in 7 against the Nuggets, and now in this series, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren step it up, and then continue to contain Ant-Man, and they have. They have. Ant-Man really hasn't gone crazy that much in the series. So if the Thunder do those things, they are getting to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2012.
Yeah, and for me, what kind of to your last point for OKC, continue to force the ball out of Edwards' hands. They've done, you mentioned they've done a great job containing them. They've really kind of shut him down and make the other guys kind of beat them, and they really haven't been able to do that. Besides Game 3, which I don't know what that. I do agree with the Thunder maturing. Game 3 though, I don't know what that was. They just okay,
Here's the one thing about Game 3, and as a Knicks fan, if somehow we were able to face them in the finals. Game 3 does give you some hope if you're a Knick or Pacer fan that this team is vulnerable, because that was a terrible performance by the Thunder in Game 3. Terrible. For a 68-win team to get beat by 40 points, that gives you hope as a Knick or Pacer fan if you face that team, if you face the finals, that it's not possible, that it's not an impossible series for you. You have a chance to beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be difficult, but yeah, maybe you get them on an off night. Like there was one game against Memphis, when they came back, they won by 2, but like they were down.
They were down 29.
Yeah, 29. Like that. So like the Thunder do have their moments where they are gettable, and you have games to beat them. So yeah, you got to kind of take advantage of those, and Minnesota did. Going back to the points, my second one was the role players kind of got to step up again. Going home, it's a little bit easier to play at home. Caruso at 10, he's had a nice series, and Walls he's not a great shooter, but could provide some defense. So like they need kind of those guys off the bench to contribute. And my third one is kind of continue to hit the threes. They shot it well in Game 4. They kind of struggled in Game 2 and 3 in the series, and Thunder been a little inconsistent at times shooting the 3 ball. But when they're on, they're dangerous, because you mentioned Jalen Williams had a really good game. SGA. Holgren hit a couple, so if the 3 balls going down for OKC, they're tough to beat.
They sure are. And now getting to the Timberwolves, and number one is obviously their superstar. It's got to be play like a superstar, and he did not take any account, as we said, he didn't take any accountability after Game 4. But he's got to be great. He's got to be phenomenal in this series. He's got to be. And he's got to be great, or the T-Wolves are going to have no chance, because Randall has not been good either. So Anthony Edwards has got to be phenomenal. He's got to be phenomenal. And then number 2 goes to Julius Randle. This is why you were traded for. You were traded for in a spot like this, in a conference final step up, and you've done anything but that. 5 points in Game 4, 6 points in Game 2. That's inexcusable. This is why this is why the Timberwolves traded Cats for you to step up in this spot, and you failed to do that. So he's got to be better. And then their bench that's the one bright spot. I think seems to be the bright spot of the Timberwolves in the series. Their bench was so good in Game 4. I mean, 21 from Walker Alexander. You had 23 from 21 from DiVincenzo. He was phenomenal. Their bench was so good. They outscored the Thunder bench 62-37. 62-37. But here's the reality of it: the role players aren't going to play as well in Oklahoma City. That's why my first 2 points with Randall and Ant-Man, they got to step up, or the Timberwolves will lose the conference finals for the second year in a row, and it will be a gentleman's sweep, just like it was last year too.
Yeah, I have the same point there with you. It's the production. And it's going to be difficult to go to OKC and get that production out of them again. Because you talked about it. We're recapping Game 4. That's a wasted effort that you got from those guys in Game 4 to not get the victory there, and you need a little bit more out of Edwards and Randall. You didn't get it. And number 2, going to Edwards, he's got to stay aggressive. Talking about kind of Tim being blitz at half court. They got to find you either got to have, I know Conley could bring up the ball too, and that, they got to find some stuff like off ball actions and just try to get him some open looks, and, just to get him going. And then my third one too is Randall's got to have a good game too. And even him, you got to try to get a switch, get a matchup on him where he can take, he can get matchup with a guard. You got to run some stuff for him too off ball. Even if it's going to, near down low in the paint, you just got to try to get him a favorable matchup right now, because the Thunder defensively have just given him fits, and they need to have a big day. So, 2 and 3 kind of same points of getting your 2 kind of superstars some off ball action type stuff to get them open.
Now your prediction for the series, I think OKC wins. I think they win going away. I think it's a party. I think they win this one by 15, 20 points because I just don't see Anthony Edwards stepping up tonight. I don't see him stepping up tonight. I don't think he's mature enough to realize that he's got to have a game where he's phenomenal, and I just don't think he's capable of doing that. Don't get me wrong, he's a top 10 player in the league, but this series has showed you why Anthony Edwards is not SGA. Why Anthony Edwards is not Jokic. Why he's not Giannis. Why he's not SGA. Why he's not Luka. This series is completely proving to you why he is not those guys. And I just don't see it at all happening tonight. I don't see Randall stepping up because he's been garbage most of the series. I don't see him stepping up. I got OKC going away tonight and getting to their first NBA. I said it was Thunder in 6 before the series, but I thought, obviously I thought Edwards and Randall would be better. They haven't been. I got OKC getting to the final tonight. I got OKC in 5, getting to their first NBA final since 2012.
Yeah, I got Thunder winning 2 tonight. I would not be surprised if it's a blowout. I expect Oklahoma City's defense to give them problems yet again. And yeah, Edward, maybe he makes a couple shots, but I don't see the role guy stepping up tonight. I think SGA has a monster game. Jalen Williams continues to shoot the ball well, and yeah, I think OKC has a pretty easy night here, and they take care of things and get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I think they do. I think we'll see OKC winning the Western Conference tonight at home. But we got a World Series rematch this weekend between the Yankees and Dodgers. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so we got a rematch of the World Series. Hey, I'll give you credit. You called it last year, but it didn't go the way either of us wanted as the Dodgers won in 5 games. But you did pick the Dodgers. I'll give you credit for that. I picked the Yankees. I was optimistic, but the Dodgers did beat them in 5 games. But they will have a rematch in Chavez Ravine this weekend as they will play each other. Friday night we got the advantage. Max Fried against Tony Gonsolin. You got Warren against Knack on Saturday. And let me tell you, the Yankees better split the first 2 games, because Yamamoto's on the mound on Sunday night. So it should be a fun series between these 2 teams. Should be very, very interesting. I look at this series right now. I look at the 2 teams. They almost have identical records. Yankees right now in the 34-20, and the Dodgers 34-21. Now it's a little bit of a surprise. I think the Yankees are better because you saw what the Dodgers. You looked at the Dodger team in the preseason. You thought this Dodger team was going to be compared to like the '98 Yankees. But the big thing with the Dodgers is the rotation. The rotation of the Snell's out. Glasnow's out, so the rotation has kind of been in shambles. Trinan's been out, so they've had injuries to the rotation, the bullpen. Now, the lineup is still one of the best. I mean, both these teams have hit the ball really well. Both the teams are, second and third in runs scored in baseball, so both these teams have really, really hit hit the ball well. So, but the big question is though, which one of these two teams? They both played in the World Series last year. Which one of these two teams has a better chance to get to the World Series this year? And I know the American League is easier, but I'm still going to say the Dodgers. I'm still going to say the Dodgers because they're going to get Glasnow back. They're going to get Trinan back. And here is, so having Trinan back, I think they're a little bit better in the bullpen. I think with Yamamoto and Glasnow, their rotation will be good enough. And I think the difference is, I think the Yankees at the top of the rotation are better with Rondon and obviously Fried, who should be the AL Cy Young Award winner. But I do think with Trinan back and with with the lineup, I know the Yankee lineup has been really. I mean, listen, they've been better than expected without Soto, but I think the Dodger lineup's a little bit deeper, and I think their bullpen is. You trust their bullpen a little bit more. That's why I am going to go. I'm Dave Roberts since 2017. They've been to the World Series 4 times in 8 years. The Yankees have only been once in the last 15 years. And I know the American League is weaker, but the Yankees have only been once. Then here's the thing with the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers don't have I think they're a half game worse, but I trust the manager with the Dodgers more. And I think this Yankee team, some of the guys in this lineup, the Austin Wells is some of the guys, Dominguez, some of the guys are playing a little bit over their head. A little bit. I think the lineup is a little bit better than we've expected. They might come down. That lineup might come down to earth a little bit, especially losing Juan Soto. I'm going to go with Dodgers. I'm going to go Dodgers. I just trust them more in the postseason than the Yankees. That's why. I know the AL is weaker, but I trust them more in the Yankees. That's why I think they have a better chance getting to the World Series, getting back to the World Series.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Dodgers there because you mentioned all the they're down 11 or 12 pitchers right now in the IL, and then you mentioned you need Ohtani 2's coming back. He's
I know he's gonna too.
Yeah, I know Glasnow's always hurt, but if you get him back, I know even Roki Suzuki he's out too now, so I get what the American League is tougher, but like that Dodger rotation, and even the bullpen, you mentioned Tried, Michael Kopech's is, hard throwing guy. Evan Phillips is a good reliever too in the back end. So when they get those guys back, they're gonna be, they're gonna be tough to hit night in and night out. And yeah, with the Dodgers lineup too, with Freeman still one of the dangerous hitters, Mookie, Andy Pages is having a really nice year. Teoscar Hernandez,
He's been really good. He's been awesome. So good.
Yeah.
He crushed the Yankees last year in the playoffs in that World Series too.
He's a Yankee killer.
Oh yeah.
I think he always kills the Yankees. Even when his days with Toronto. So yeah, right now I think the Dodgers are good. And yeah, you mentioned the American League. I think the Yankees are gonna have a tough outlay if they would meet the Tigers in the ALCS because their rotation could match the Yankees rotation.
Their rotation is good, and their man. I get this cheating scandal. I understand it, but he did technically beat them twice. The Yankees twice in the ALCS when he's faced them. So AJ Hinch has had. It's tough to say it because of the sign stealing thing, but he has had the Yankees number. I'll give him that. And he's proven he's a good manager too. He's proven it in Detroit. He's turned that team around. So I think the Tigers would be tough for the Yankees, but the Dodgers are still going to have a call in the NL. I mean, they're probably going to have to face the Giants or the Padres in the first round, and then they're probably there's a very good chance they're going to get the Phillies, who arguably are the best team in the National League in the NLCS.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Harper got hurt last night. I don't think I would assume he's going to be back. I don't know if it was that. I don't know if he's going to the IL or not, but the Phillies teams, they're starting to. I know they've been playing some bad teams lately, but the Phillies are finally looking like they're getting kind of in their groove now, and they'll be tough out. Even the Cubs have been pretty good this year. Their 3 outfielders, Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, and then Seiya Suzuki. They've been the best kind of outfield trio kind of in the sport so far. So the Dodgers definitely have a tough out, but with all the guys that they have, and with the lineup when they're healthy, with all the arms that they have, they're going to be such a tough out. So the Phillies, the Cubs, the Braves are still 300. I don't want to write them off, but it is a team that has won a World Series. So the Dodgers have a tough gauntlet too, but when they're healthy, it's just tough to kind of match up with them, with their rotation that they could throw out there. in the bullpen with the guys that can mix and match. It just the Dodgers should be able to get through you would think they get through the National League.
Yeah, it'll be tough, but they're still my favorite to get to the World Series in the NL. So, but now we'll go to the series and we'll start Friday night's game. You got Fried against Goslin. That's got to be a Yankee win. That's got to be a Yankee win. You're here to you're going to LA to get revenge for what happened last year. This is the guy you went out and got in the offseason with Max Fried. I think you got to set the tone. You got to get the win on Friday night. Saturday you got Warren against Knack. That's a 50-50 game, but I think the Dodgers hit their way through. I think they hit their way through that game and beat the Yankees in a high-scoring game on Saturday, the Fox game. Then Sunday Night Baseball, Yarbrough against Yamamoto. I think the Dodgers win. I gotta see it to believe it. Last year, the Dodgers won 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. This year, in the World Series, they beat the Yankees. I got to see it to believe it to pick the Yankees. So I'm going to take the Dodgers 2 out of 3 here against the Yankees.
Yeah, I am too. I think they get Friday night. Saturday, Warren's been good, but yeah, I could see that Dodger lineup have some success against Warren. I think Sunday night, Yarbrough has been good. He's been a major surprise, but I see the Yankees having a tough out with Yamamoto, whose ERA is under 2 right now. So I'm with you. I think Yarbrough kind of tries to keep him in it, but the Yankees don't muster out much out of Yamamoto. So I do agree with you. The Dodgers take 2 or 3 this weekend from the Yankees.
Yeah, I think they do. And listen, if you look at the Dodgers right, we've talked a lot about the Yankees, but if you look, and we know what they are, but if you look at the Dodgers right now, I think the rotation is definitely the biggest weakness. Sasaki hasn't been as good. A lot of injuries to the rotation, but they're going to get guys back in that rotation. They're obviously their lineup is phenomenal. I think the best in the game. And then their bullpen, they're going to get Trinan's going to come back. So they still are my favorite. The Dodgers are still my favorite in the NL. Right now, I'm saying it's Tigers Dodgers. I'd say Tigers Dodgers World Series. It's tough for me. And two, why I said the Dodgers too over the Yankees is without Garrett Cole. I think it's going to be so hard for the Yankees to get there. I think it's going to be hard for the Yankees to get there again without Garrett Cole.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the rotation, you think, you got Fried, Rodon. You'd hope to have Heal back by then. I would think he's going to be back by then. And there's 3 really, those are 3 guys that you can really trust. And I know Schmidt's, it's been up and down, and Warren's been good, but and Cashman's aggressive too, usually with pitching at deadline. So maybe they do add another arm that has had some pitching success.
They definitely, that's what they need. They need to add an arm and another arm. The bullpen and the rotation they need to add. They need to add there. That's a must.
Yeah, and usually Cashman's pretty good about doing that. So, but yeah, I would agree with the Dodgers Tigers right now because that Tiger rotation is good, and I think Reese Olson's going to pitch this weekend. Reese Olson's coming back too for him now. Casey Mize is finally kind of looking like the number 1 overall pick from what now, like 768 from he's from and you would think Javier Baez, the way he's played out in center field and the bats kind of coming together this year, fine for the first time in a while, and Spencer Torres since having a good year. So I agree right now that it kind of looks like it. Tigers, Dodgers would be the favorite right now to meet in the World Series.
Yeah, I think those. Even though the Dodgers aren't as good as we thought they were going to be, I still have them as the favorite to win the NL. Now, the big story too going into this weekend is we got the 2 best players in baseball going at it with Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, and we always got to ask this question when the Yankees and Dodgers play: Judge or Ohtani? And I know I went with we've been kind of going with the Dodgers. I've been going with I went with the Dodgers this weekend in LA. I went with the Dodgers to have a better chance to get back to the World Series than the Yankees. But here's where I'm going to take the Yankee. I'm going to go with the Yankee here. I'm going to go with Aaron Judge over Shohei Ohtani. Aaron Judge has been absolutely phenomenal. He's been the MVP of the American League in 2022 and 2024. He should have been the MVP in 2017. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I know Shohei does both things well, but also when he's not pitching, he doesn't even play the field. He's a DH. Aaron Judge is a great center fielder. Or right fielder. He's a great outfielder too. I'm going Judge here. I know about the postseason struggles. I get it. But I think he's the best player. The way he's hitting the ball this year, he's just been so good. To me, he's clearly the best player. He's got he's got 47 RBIs. Ohtani. I know Ohtani leads baseball with 20 home runs, but he's got 47 RBIs. Aaron Judge. I think it's close, but I'm going to go Aaron Judge.
See, if we're counting this as Ohtani as a pitcher and hitter, I have to take Ohtani just because he's an all-star hitting, and then when he's on the mound, he's an all-star pitcher.
I get it. Yeah.
So I love Judge, and I think Judge is a totally better hitter than Ohtani, and take Judge if it was just head to head on hitting wise, but because of that pitching element, it's something we haven't seen in 100 years. I have to take Otani, and I hate to do it because I love Judge and Judge has been unbelievable, and like the strikeout rate's kind of been down this year, and I think he's got a lot more discipline with the strike zone. But like when Otani comes back, he can pitch, and again, he's probably going to be around a 3 ERA, maybe a little, maybe in the high twos. Like you get that from out of one player, it's just something like it's tough to compare him to anybody else because of what Otani could do when healthy and when he's on the mound. Yeah, I get it with the 35 RBIs. I know he's batting leadoff, and I know the Dodgers at the beginning kind of the bottom of the order was kind of rough, and I think that's why the RBI numbers are down. But like it's just the pitching and hitting combined there, and just getting an all-star level guy at both is just you have to kind of to me, I have to take that over Judge, which is I hate to do it, but I think I just have to.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Oh, but why I'm taking Judge is Otani hasn't pitched in so long, so we don't know what we're going to see out of Otani on the mound. He hasn't pitched in like 2 or 3 years, so we don't know what we're going to see out of Otani on the mound. So that's why I take Judge. He's better offensively, and then and Otani doesn't usually play the field when he's not. He's a DH when he's not pitching. So. But I understand we haven't seen it since Babe Ruth. So they're both phenomenal players. But I get your point with Otani. We really haven't seen a guy like that.
Yeah, we haven't, and we haven't seen a guy like that since Babe Ruth, and it's so impressive to see what he's been able to do. And yeah, I think the hope it sounds like with Otani is they're hoping like after the All-Star break he's going to start. He'll be on the mound again, or he'll probably make his first start somewhere right around there. So, another month or so, because like he can't do rehab, because like he can't go to the minors and go play rehab because you need the bat, because you lose the bat in the lineup. So, but yeah, I like it's tough to pick against Judge, but yeah, it's just something you haven't seen in 100 years. I know it's been a couple years since we've seen him on the mound, but like I think the history that we've seen is kind of tells us a story there, and maybe he does come back and struggle on the mound. We've seen that from guys that have to go Tommy John. Like look at Sandy Alcantara right now. The control hasn't been there, the velocity's there, but I think he's got like a high. I think he's still in the sevens ERA. So maybe he's not the same guy on the mound, and then I'd probably change my pick to the Judge. But till I see him come back and struggle on the mound, I still just have to take him because of what the body of work kind of tells us when he's been on the mound.
Yeah. It's close between the two. It's close between two. I take Judge, you take Otani, but it's really close between the two. But we got to talk about the Red Sox, and the big news for them is Alex Bregman being out pretty much indefinitely, right?
Yeah, probably. So Cora called it a similar strain that he suffered in 2021. He missed about 50 games. So yeah, you're probably looking about 2 months maybe.
And the big question is how big of a loss for this team. And I think you've seen it for yourself the last 4 games. I think it's a huge loss. I think it's a humongous loss. The team scored 5 runs in their last 4 games, and they've fallen to 4th place because the Blue Jays are now ahead of them. The Rays are ahead of them. So they have fallen to 4th place in the AL East. And Rafael Devers, who was on a tear, he's 1 for 15. I know Myers hit over 300. His replacement has actually Marcelo Myers actually hit over 300, but no home runs, no RBIs. Rafael Devers has been 1 for 15. 1 for 15 since Bregman in his 4-game losing streak. So I think this is a huge loss. I think it's a huge loss. This is the guy. This is the bat you went out and got in the lineup to get you to the postseason. This is the 2 guys you got to get to the postseason. You went out and traded for Crochet. That's worked. And then Bregman was working, but seeing what's going on with this Red Sox team too, with Cora, this is I think one of Cora's worst years as a manager of this team. And I think this is a big loss. And I think eventually this could lead to the demise of Alex Cora. I see right now. I'm not high on this team. I think that I wouldn't be shocked if this team finished. I think they'll finish ahead of either Toronto or Tampa. But I could see either Toronto or Tampa finishing ahead of them. I think they could finish in 3rd or 4th place. This could be the end for Alex Cora. To me, this is a big loss for the Red Sox losing Alex Bregman for an extended period of time.
Yeah, it's not great. He mentioned the Cora stuff. That's kind of been the talk in Boston radio right now of how long is his leash right now, and I don't think they'd fire him in season because I do think Henry and Warner really like him. And they just gave him that extension too. Like I think it's first year of his 3 or 4 year extension. So I don't think they'd fire him in season. I think they'd probably wait till the offseason to do it. But yeah, it's kind of brutal. You mentioned Devers because today's over. He's walked twice already. They're up 1-0 right now in the third inning. But like Durant's been hitting the ball better too. He was 0 for 5 last night, but like you can't really rely on those two guys to carry you. Marcel Myers was after his first game, I think he went like 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, and he struggled. But like, I know like they want to call up Roman Anthony, it's like the other one now. He's adding like 320 in the minors. But like the thing is too, like I think the problem is like with say Raphael, the bat hasn't come, but like they've moved him around a lot last year. Now he's in the outfield. And same thing with Christian Campbell. Like they've been having him teach first base. You've been kind of moving him over all over the place. It's like I think maybe he's a little bit overwhelmed right now because again, he's 2 months into his rookie year. Like he's still kind of learning. Carlos Valle has been good, but like you go back to core on Monday, he pitched runs for Carlos Valle, for Connor Wong, or Connor Wong comes in for Carlos Valle to the pitch run, and then Connor Wong becomes the last out with the game, and they had a chance to tie it, I believe. And again, Wong's had a horrible year with the at bat, so yeah, they haven't got it. Like Trevor Story, he's got he can opt in, I think, after next year. He's got like another 2-3 year deal, and he's been brutal. Like he's been like hardly, he's been unplayable at times. But like you don't really have many other options right now, so like you have to play him. So there's not many options for, but like it's you mentioned they scored 5 runs since Saturday, since that doubleheader Saturday, and it's been brutal right now. Again, nothing in extra innings last night. So, and they're 6-6 now with Crochet on the mound, and Crochet's been awesome. Like that. That's another sign of a mediocre team. Your ace is 6-6, and it's not like he's had bad outings or anything. It's kind of the lineup hasn't given him anything.
And here's the thing about Alex Cora now. It's now on you. It's now on you. You can't blame Chaim Bloom for not spending any money anymore. It isn't last year with the Red Sox and Breslow's first year didn't do stuff. They went out and got Garrett Crochet. Now, it's bad luck that Bregman gets hurt, but when Bregman was there, you were supposed to be better than 500. You're not. This is now on Alex Cora. This is really on Alex Cora, and I know there's the extension, but seeing the way this team has played this year, I wouldn't be surprised if we'll definitely get more into this next week as the Yankees play the Red Sox in their first series, but I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from Cora.
No, I wouldn't either. I think that if they do anything first, like the way things are going, I think probably they'll like do the hitting coach first to see if that sparks something. Yeah. Maybe Roman Anthony comes first. Like I don't think they fire him in season unless the things go really, really bad. But yeah, it's like I don't think I think with the Devers stuff too. Like I don't think that's been handled well by like. I know publicly hasn't said much, but like the way Devers been very outspoken about not wanting to boost DH, and then come a couple weeks ago the first base situation, like. That hasn't been handled great. I think some of that stuff hasn't been handled great this year by Alex Cora too, which is a little bit of an issue. But yeah, I think he's having a pretty bad year as a manager right now, and it's he would this was supposed to be the first. Ken, what would this be? 6 out of the last 7 years since like 18. You missed the postseason.
Yeah, if you look at it,
that's not.
Yeah, the 7 years as a manager, he's only made the play. It's weird. He's only made the playoffs twice in 18 and 21 because he missed the playoffs in 19. He missed it in 22. He missed it in 23, 20, and 24. So if he misses the playoffs this year, it'll be the 5th time in his 7 years as a manager that he's missed the playoffs. And I know he won that World Series in 2018, but that's 7 years ago now. This is the lowest I've been on Alex Cora. Because when Chaim Bloom was there, you were kind of making excuses for him. All right, the GM is holding him back. The GM is holding him back. That's not happening right now with Breslow. I know Bregman's hurt. I get it. But that's not happening now. Breslow, when they went out and spent money, they went out and made a trade. They went out and spent money. And you're still a mediocre team just like you were last year. So if they end, they win 75, 78 games, I think this should be it for Alex Cora. He's gotten enough opportunities.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. And I wouldn't, because a lot of these younger guys too, that like it kind of feels like, remember like when the Yankees had that kind of 1 year there, right? They called all the kids like Judd. Like this is supposed to be that era now with Duran. Abreu's been good, but we'll see what Meyer can become. But like David Hamilton hasn't really progressed. Raphael, he's an unbelievable outfielder. The bat hasn't come. Kind of Wong kind of taking a couple step back. Like some of these younger guys that I think they're really counting on to be the future haven't totally taken off or like haven't seen the potential. And I know like Roman is the one player prospect in the sport right now. So like maybe he comes in and is that superstar that they're hoping. But like, yeah, something I think too is on the manager of these guys maybe not developing the way you've wanted it to. And and in Boston too, like this was finally supposed to be the first time in, a couple of years that Fenway's supposed to be, they're supposed to be playing for something this summer. And again, it looks like another mediocre team that's going to miss the playoffs. And again, in September when the Patriots are back and they're going to be somewhat decent this
there'll
year.
be zero. There'll be zero interest.
Yeah.
There'll be zero interest because they'll all be getting ready for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, who have pretty high expectations this year to get to the playoffs. So yeah, if they're out of it in September, Fenway Park is going to be empty. Fenway Park will be empty, like it was 2 years ago, like it's kind of been every September since 2022. So this team needs to pick it up, and they got opportunities to. They got the Rays, they got division games. This team absolutely need to start picking it up, or they'll be on their way to another mediocre season. We will wrap up talking NHL on Monday night. The Canes ended their series. They beat the Panthers to extend their series. They snapped their 15-game losing streak in the conference final. So Panthers up 3-1, one game away from getting to their third consecutive Stanley Cup. And Justin, will start with the Panthers. What do they got to do to get to the Stanley Cup for the third straight year?
For me tonight, I have two for the Panthers. They got to get off to a fast start tonight. Kind of mentioned last week, Carolina struggles offensively. Carolina struggles playing down behind. So you get off to a fast start, you get a goal or two early, puts some pressure on Carolina, and also puts a lot of pressure on them of not being able to put pucks in the net here. Because before Game 3, I think Panthers were outscoring them. Or before Game 4, it was like 16-4 the series. The Panthers outscoring them. So. And then my other one for the Panthers, just continue to play their game. The physicality. Game 1 and Game 2, they love to just like absolutely just play so physical, and they love to just bury by like Game 6 and Game 7. You have nothing left, and like the Panthers are so deep that they can kind of play that way and be okay. And just continue to play their physical style of hockey tonight, and give the give the Hurricanes some issues again, and and try to kind of finish this thing off in 5 games tonight.
What does Rob Brendamore's squad got to do to avoid another loss in the conference finals?
For them, they got to kind of going back to they got to find the first goal. They got to score the first goal tonight. It's difficult for them. Then the Panthers kind of play the same kind of style. They want to play low scoring games. The Carolina kind of really struggles when they can when they kind of fall behind so far. And then my other one is Frederick Anderson, who I think he's been okay this series, but he's got to be solid tonight in between the posts because the inconsistencies with their offense. And again, you're going to have to win a low-scoring game, and you're going up against Bobrovsky, so you're going to have to outplay him, and which is always a tough task. So, Anderson, I think he's been better than usual in the playoffs, and he's got to be solid yet again tonight in the play for the Hurricanes to have chopped.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be the Hurricanes got their work cut out for them. I think they're on their way to another loss. I got the Panthers heading back to the finals. Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got the Panthers finishing this thing off tonight, 5 games, and getting some needed rest before the Cup Finals, which I think they're doing January 4th. I think it's the day before the NBA Finals. So
June 4th.
Yeah, we'll have about a week off.
That Wednesday it'll start.
I believe 4th. So. Yeah, I think it's the day before the NBA Finals. So
gotcha.
They'll get about a week off.
So now moving on to the Western Conference, Oilers and Stars. Oilers lead the Stars 3-1. And Justin, what do the Oilers got to do to get back? It looks, if they do get back, it looks like it's going to be a rematch between them and the Panthers. They talk about all the parity in the NHL, but we're getting a rematch in the Stanley Cup Final. What do the Oilers got to do to get back to the Stanley Cup Final?
Yeah, for the Oilers here in this one, Skinner. The last 2 years in Game 4 through 7, he's 13-1, and he's 12 of those 13 games he's allowed 2 goals or fewer. So he's been feast or famine at times in the playoffs. Like he even got benched in the Kings series. He was never going to come back, but the backup Pritchard got hurt, and they needed Stewart to come back in and play. So he's been locked in of late, and they're going to need him to continue to be solid here. In Game 5 and throughout. And my second one is the other guys continue to step up. They only have 12 goals so far this postseason ranked David and Leon. I think the last offseason or last playoffs they had like 48% of their goals or something like that. It was But like this year, it's been the other guys. Evan Bouchard, the defenseman, got like 6 goals this postseason. So it's those guys that continue to step up. My third one is the physicality. They look like a different team this year. They've added some physicality. Like to start the defensemen, when they're in kind of their own zone, Edmonton's kind of sending bodies at them, and Edmonton's getting those turnovers and kind of trying to capitalize off them. So, continue to kind of be physical with the Dallas Stars, in Game 5.
And what do the Stars got to do to avoid a third consecutive loss in the conference final?
Yeah, third one, and they're 0-16 in franchise history now, 3-1. So obviously the odds are against them right now, but they need Marco Rantanen to get going. He's got to see one go through the net. I mentioned last week he got off to such a fast start with his points and the playoffs, but he hasn't scored a goal now in his last 7 games. They need him to get going, and then also they just need the other guys to step up. Like they've since Game 1 where they had like the 3 power play goals in about 5.5 minutes. They've only scored 2 goals in the last 3 games, and Edmonton's defense has been better, but like it hasn't. They should still be they should be getting more goals than they've been able to. So they need some guys in that lineup to get going and kind of get back in this thing. And then my third one is their penalty kills needs to get back on track. It's been really consistent all year for them and throughout the postseason. But game 4 was kind of different. They gave up 2 goals there on the kill. So their penalty kills got to be better because again, I mentioned that last week. McDavid, Draisaitl, those two. Draisaitl I think scored I think his goal last night was on the power play. So those two, when those guys are again on the ice with the man advantage, it's deadly for the top. It's deadly for the Stars.
Yeah, it seems to be. It definitely seems to be. And I got the Oilers winning this. I think we're getting a rematch. I think we're getting Oilers Panthers 2nd year in a row. Parity. Talk about the parity. The NHL hockey people try to talk to me about parity. Where's the parity? You got the same 2 teams, and you're probably gonna get the same 2 teams in the Stanley Cup final that you got the year before.
Yeah, I got Edmonton at 6. Yeah, it's the opposite this year. Usually we get the rematch all the time in the NBA, and this year it looks like we're getting one in the NHL. So hopefully it's a good 7-game series again after these two. I know Edmonton went down 0-3, but or 3-0, but David finally gets it's finally here. Be awesome to see it, and for Canada drops to break that streak because hey, he won Canada the what do they call that?
The Four
that
Nations
tournament this year.
The
Four Nations.
McDavid, yeah.
Maybe he gets the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup.
Maybe we'll see. It'll be the first time
Yeah.
Canada would win first time they win a cup since the Canadians in '93. And listen, I think there's going to be interest in the Stanley Cup final because you got McDavid. The NHL needs McDavid to get to the Stanley Cup. They're going to get him they got him getting to the Stanley Cup again. So it looks like they're going to. And I'm not going to want to jinx them, but it looks like they are. So yeah. So I think it'll be if it is Oilers Panthers, it'll be another good final.
Yeah, it should be. I wonder too with the rating because they're going to be on TNT. So because like more people would probably would tune into like ESPN than like you're thinking more like ESPN for like hockey than TNT. So I wonder if the rating may be a little down, but having McDavid's going to help. And again, like Florida's not going to really bring much of a draw because it's not one of the original 6. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think it's going to help to have McDavid there because he has much watched television.
Absolutely, he definitely is. That is going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week previewing the NBA Finals, talking Yanks and Sox, their first series of the year, and previewing, because it's probably going to be Game 1, previewing the Stanley Cup Finals as well. So enjoy the Yankee-Dodger series, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Stinky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.